Thank you. We're calling this Waterville Valley Conservation Commission meeting to order. And before we continue with the roll call, I'd like to take a moment and read our land acknowledgement, also known as a stewardship statement. No, I don't have it in front of me.
It's
It's right here. Okay. The reason I'm reading it now is that it's been almost a year since we, the Conservation Commission, adopted the statement. We are located on Endocino, which is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land and waterways and the Alnabak people who have stewarded Endocino throughout the generations. So if it's all right with you, I will be referring to that land acknowledgement also as the stewardship statement, since I feel that's a bit more pertinent to our circumstances. All right, any questions, anyone? All right. Let's have a roll call. Hi, Charles.
Yeah.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Charles.
Start, you can start, Charles.
I'm Charles Hastings, member.
Rebecca Hastings, member.
Jenny Lucas, member.
Garrett Levy, chair.
John Racine, member.
Paul Ricardo, alternate.
Cindy Pecos, alternate.
Okay, all right. Hope you all had a chance to review and approve minutes for April 5. Oh, one moment, please. Is there an issue of, Mark, you can tell us if there's an issue of planning board members and conservation commission? You
Well-
said
Oh,
something about,
That,
oh,
why don't you go ahead with the minutes and then we'll discuss.
after the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
If
all right.
if it's okay,
all right.
Madam Chair.
It's okay. All right, so any comments, questions about the minutes from April 5?
no one sent me anything
Yeah.
ahead of time, so.
You hardly approve.
Hardly,
All right.
not hardly, hardly.
Heartily.
Enunciate.
Okay,
Hmm.
so. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of April.
April 5, yes.
2023.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Yes. Okay. Okay,
For recording.
today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023, for the record. All right. Is this an appropriate time to ask about the seating or the changing of the roles?
Yeah, so being a planning board member, there's some discussion about the planning board chair. No, Mark's
Well,
gonna
there's
explain.
actually now two members of
Two
the
members.
planning board sitting on the conservation.
Right.
There is, the provisions in state statute are for one ex officio planning board member to participate in the conservation commission. So we would need either Jenny or John to not be a member of both boards. Okay.
I
so-
volunteer to not be a member of the planning board.
No,
Can she be an alternate?
You, John. No, that an alternate counts as a member.
It does.
Oh,
Well,
That's,
yeah, we.
or this one, I mean,
Okay.
either one, but.
hmm. It's kind of a dilemma.
Does it have to be decided at today's meeting?
No. I would, but I wouldn't put it off.
Oh, yeah, right,
okay.
I volunteer to remove myself from whichever whichever one makes the most people like
Happy.
satisfied.
Well,
What about you?
there's also, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Rich,
Rich.
Just as the select board ex officio and the planning board. For John to leave the planning board means we would lose the chair of the planning board, so.
Correct.
please Think of that in your deliberation of which planning board member should be on the conservation. Please.
Can you tell us the reason for that? That you can't have,
Because the composition of the Conservation Commission only includes one ex officio member of the planning board. So we right now technically have two ex officio members of the planning board.
oh.
okay. Can this decision be made outside this meeting? Say this
So
week?
I would-
Probably not.
I would not, I mean, I certainly this should be a board
Mm.
discussion and decision.
So the
But-
options are for me to step down from the planning board or for John to step down from the conservation commission.
Yes,
Those are the two options.
well,
John can step down from the planning.
Or.
no, we don't
But
want
as
that
you
to
just
happen
pointed out.
because he's the chair of the. planning.
Right,
But yes, the issue is, it goes from the planning board to the conservation commission. It is not really a conservation commission issue as much as a planning board issue, right? Because the planning board needs to provide one person to sit on this board.
Yeah, so if I remove myself from this board,
Yes. Then Jenny would become the ex officio
and she could
planning
stay,
board member
yeah,
on the conservation commission and sit on both.
yeah,
I mean, that is,
I like that option.
Uh-oh.
well, but John, your responsibilities have changed on the planning board, right?
They
You
have.
were a member and now you're the chair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from a work standpoint, that certainly, to me, makes some sense.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have other work, especially when projects come up and things like that. And remember, the ex officio's role is to foster communication between both
Mhm.
boards.
Yeah.
And just share information back and forth.
And I was gonna actually ask Jenny anyways, if she would do that. Prior to this meeting, not knowing.
Yeah.
That. To remove myself as a ex officio or liaison, however that
Yeah.
goes,
Ex officio.
yeah. So I'm gonna suggest that. I'd have to remove myself as a voter
Yeah.
To,
you would not
remove
be
myself
on the
as a,
conservation commission.
Right. you
yeah,
would
but
be-
for them to
You
vote on it,
certainly can, well, you certainly can, here, you'll need to be replaced.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
by someone else.
right,
In the long term,
right,
but you have alternates.
Yes,
That can fill for today.
yeah, but I'd like to do that.
okay.
I'd like to remove myself and I would just sit like
Yeah.
next to
Okay.
Rich.
Yeah, go.
And would this be a good time to seat?
And then you would seek an alternate to fill
Okay.
the board out.
Okay.
But Jenny, is this, are you okay with this? I mean, you're the one, you're over there being very quiet.
yeah, no, I'm fine, I,
Well, I've been the ex officio for quite a few years.
yeah,
So it's time to pass the
Yeah.
torch
Okay.
and you're good at it. You'd be very good at it.
alrighty.
So-
Do we need to take a vote on that or is,
No.
okay, fine.
I think that's,
And then,
So I could remove myself as a.
come on now.
come on,
Wow,
and then,
that was abrupt.
right,
you, John.
I know.
surprise.
Okay.
And then, do we have to vote to seat? No,
That's you're the chair.
all right, so. For today or forever? We
Not
can,
forever.
No, they're
Just
all right.
like-
She probably is next.
tongue in cheek, okay. Cindy, you can be seated as a member
Okay,
for now.
okay.
That'll be in the minutes.
Issue.
It was nice.
Nice meeting.
It was nice while it lasted.
You only have 6 members here.
That's, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's the.
All right. All right.
That's yours.
So Cindy, you have voting powers now.
Okay, good. The regular members, oh, you're a regular member?
Yeah, I'm alternate.
Okay, so usually we got 5 members, Paul is still sitting out as an,
Correct.
okay,
All right.
so
So
you got 5 voting members.
we have 5 voting members. That's,
You're great.
we're kosher now. All right. So can we move on to privilege of the floor? Rich?
So, following that defenestration of the
Administration.
of John. So,
That's going.
this is,
That's going.
I'd like to talk to you guys about the reappearance of beavers in the vicinity of Well Fort. We could do it on the privilege of the floor, or we could just, it's not on the agenda, but if you wanted to just include that under old business, because we've talked about this before,
Mhm.
or new business, we could handle it in either of those
Old business, okay.
categories, whatever you want to talk about, but that's why I've come today.
How many are there?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
We'll probably have a bunch of
Let's do it
kids
under-
too.
Under old business.
Old business.
That would be the I think.
Okay. So
Any other
Okay.
privileges?
there is more privilege of the floor. Tim has something to tell us.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your work. I love this commission. So I don't know, it was probably 2019, 2020, I became aware of a report from our neighbors down the road. The work of Dr. Samuel Miller, he's a meteorologist at Plymouth State University, along with the town of Campton. They prepared a climate report, and it's not just a climate report, it's a climate change preparedness plan for the town of Campton, and it's very detailed, it's excellent. But one of the things that was highlighted in the report, which I don't know why I didn't think of it before as a science teacher, but the forest, the White Mountain National Forest is predicted to burn down in the next 30 to 50 years because of increased drought conditions, and 85% of forest fires are started by humans. So that was planted in my brain from many years ago, and then very recently we had Paul and Denise Pulio here presenting at the academy, and my students and I attended. And they talked about the concept of stewarding the forest. And so we have been working on a project that I'm eager to partner with this commission and also the White Mountain National Forest and potentially other stakeholders in the community, where we are simultaneously improving the health of our forests, but also preparing for increased risk of forest fire. We are a community that is surrounded by the forest. There's not one of us that would not be impacted by a forest fire. And we have had just in the last couple of weeks increased risk of forest fire. So in the last couple of weeks, it's been really interesting to my students. We've gone to different sites in our one right behind our school, one in the National Forest, and we were able to see it on very rainy days. And then we were able to see it on days where the fire risk was very high, and to make those observations. We also implemented AI to help us come up with some very detailed and thorough research on causes, prevention, community organization, plants and trees that are resistant to fire. And we actually have quite a few species that grow that are indigenous to this region that are fire resistant, which was pretty interesting to me. I had no idea. So we've been learning a lot. It's been a collective learning experience. And our hope is that as a community, we can develop a plan for citizen science to take place. And what I mean by that is we can come up with a plan that anybody can follow. So that will preclude controlled burning, Mark. So don't worry, we're not going to be running around with torches, trying to burn things down. But I did tell the kids we can't burn things. I'm really sorry. They were really disappointed when I told them that. But, you know, there might be some simple things that we can do, like taking care of snags that could lead to that could act as ladder fuels, or encouraging the growth of trees that are more resistant, and I'm throwing this out there, okay, this is not my area of expertise, these are just ideas. So the idea would be, we develop a plan that anyone can implement, and we can also improve the health of our forests. If you look at a lot of the forests right around our community, a lot of them have grown up at the same time because they were probably clear cut. And so you can see that, you know, if we had good logging practices taking place, there would be good succession, but a lot of our trees are sort of choking each other out. And so they're unhealthy. So if you do have a forest fire, you want your forests to be healthy. So it's this sort of holistic thought of how do we prevent, how do we heal, and plan for the future as well. And so the students have their projects are due next Friday. And we are eager to bring their ideas forward, but also learn holistically from this commission and potentially the White Mountain National Forest Fire Prevention Team, the people who can burn things down. So thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really inspiring, and I hope we can have future conversations and dialogue, because to my philosophy as a teacher is service learning, and that means we're learning, but we're also giving back to our community. So eager to work with you. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So glad you inspired your students to be involved. So this is on our agenda further down. So we can talk about it now, or I can wait. So, yes, Rich?
No,
I was just
Let
gonna say,
me,
I was just gonna say, you really should consult the beavers.
Okay,
Get past.
yes,
that.
we'll get past that. So if Kim needed to leave, she can leave.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
wanted-
finding.
Okay, great.
Thank you. all.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thanks.
All right, so we heard you saw the beavers there.
okay, so you want to move?
Yeah, we can do that. And you didn't there, you didn't see the beavers. Okay. So what's the plan of action? We don't want a repeat of what we did last time, so.
So that is my question to
Mhm.
you. actually.
Yeah.
So it was recently reported to the select board that there is evidence, I think it's pretty strong from what I've been told, of beaver activity, again, being present or around well for number 4. And as you recall, and I'm speaking not just as Rich Reed, a resident or chair, but I've had discussions with the select board about this, and so this is select board presentation, if you would.
Mhm.
You may recall that the select board last summer or fall was criticized for not exploring all options and for not soliciting public input when it decided to trap the beavers as the option to remove them from well 4 because their presence was deemed to be a danger to our drinking water supply. Well 4 is a big part of that. So obviously we want to avoid that situation in the future, i.e. We do want to make sure that all options are considered and that there is public input to the extent the public wants to
Mhm.
give the select board input before we, the select board, decide how to deal with the resurgent beaver activity. So as part of this discussion that we had last fall as well, you may recall, I think the chairwoman was there. I think a couple other members of the Conservation Commission was there at one of our meetings, maybe in the last meeting about this issue, where the chair basically asked the Conservation Commission to be the point element of the town to help us with issues dealing with wildlife impingement on town operations. So that's how we classify this particular issue.
Mhm.
So in that spirit, the select board would like the Conservation Commission to research the various options that we could consider, the select board could consider to deal with the situation now, or obviously a more difficult situation if the activity gets closer to the well. What options do we have? And if possible, we'd like a pretty detailed report. Frankly, not just a list of, well, we can do this, this, or this, but actually research to see what this, and this, what they actually require. Probably to include costs, rank ordering them, and what your preferred solution is. And if such a report, I mean, we're not looking for, a fancy dog and pony show, but something back to the board that we can discuss with you by our first meeting in July, which I believe is July 6th. And just a reminder, starting in July, we're changing our select board meetings to Thursdays at 5, as opposed to the Wednesdays at 3. I think July 6th is a Thursday at 5 p.m. So if you could provide us with your research and your preferred solution, and as detailed as possible, as well as other options, we can then take that information, discuss it as a select board issue. The select board will then probably hold a public hearing to get public input. And then we'll make a decision. We may make a preliminary decision prior to the public hearing to get input from the people. This is what we're going to do, what our plan is to do. But somewhere in there, we have a public hearing, and then the select board makes the decision of how to deal with this particular issue. So that's the select board's.
And
Okay.
it's not only well 4, you need to look at well.
Oh, that's right. We're starting to see it at well 3 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
There's another family that's moving in. There's evidence, and well 3, if you remember, well 3 is the well that actually was taken out of service.
Right. Right.
Back in 2006.
Is
Yeah.
well 3 the well that has the newish
Yeah.
fence around it by the
Yeah.
Mad River Trail?
Yeah.
That's well 3.
Mad
Okay.
River
Yeah,
Trail.
that is not online yet, but we're anticipating it getting online. And then hopefully not too distant.
Yeah,
Is that
Future.
one of the stepping stones that goes
Yes.
across? That's.
yeah,
Well, it's not near the stuff.
yeah.
Well,
It's the
yeah,
Mad-
it's in the
Mad River Trail
field.
runs alongside it.
So is the beaver activity here?
Where's the beaver?
Something to do with the West Branch?
Yes,
Really?
they're on the West Branch.
So that's-
And it's the
Upstream.
same- It's
Yeah.
the same areas that they caused problems in back in the early 2000s.
That's a whole enterprise.
Oh, they are very bold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that particular case, it was suicidal.
Hmm.
Because the town dealt with that issue the same way it dealt with the issue.
Yeah.
Which upset so many, last year,
Right.
which upset so many people in town.
Danny.
But
So-
I'm pointing that out because it actually took a well out of service.
Right, right.
This is not something that is just maybe could happen.
Mhm.
It has already
Yeah.
happened,
Okay.
and we are spending hundreds
Mm.
of thousands of dollars developing these wells. So this is a serious
Yeah.
issue.
And well 3, as you know, has been part of the water project, which
Right.
is
Right.
finishing up. It has not yet been, well, it is connected, but it hasn't been. what's the
Put back
proper term?
in service.
Put back into service. There's still some
Okay.
issues, there's some minor, not repair work, but, construction, I'm sorry. Communicate, there's some issues before we can put it back in, but it's
Right,
coming soon. It was-
Right.
It's not that far
Okay.
downstream that will have all 3 of our wells. in service. Right now, well 2 and 4 are in service. And well 4 is obviously the critical, well, because
It's
it
our
provides,
highest production.
Mhm.
well, we survive off of well 4.
Okay.
right? Especially during peak periods.
Right. I think Jenny wanted to say a few things.
I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that to the commission in this manner, because it was pretty important to me last summer, as you know. And we did reach out and ask for this, and I'm very happy that you've decided to go this route, and I'm more than happy to
I'll help you.
do
Fine.
whatever it takes to
Figure-
get all the information. I did a whole bunch of frantic information gathering last year, and people that are interested in beavers are more than happy
Great.
to lend their expertise to.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Who reported to the select board that beavers are back?
I
Who's your
believe,
source?
I believe it was, town staff, was it Dylan and
Oh, okay.
and you, I think,
Okay.
went out there. We monitor the wells.
Yeah.
They're regularly monitored,
I,
and I think we had we sent the hydrologist,
Not yet.
not yet, we haven't sent the hydrologist that, not yet.
Okay,
this was not official channels, but I spoke to Daniel Newton about it on Saturday. And he told me that, he was pretty sure that beavers were back. And the only reason you can tell they were back is he thinks that they've been moving some of the logs into place underwater, because there's not conspicuous evidence on top of the dam, but he thinks they're working under.
So if he says is a probability, then it's a certainty, I think,
Mhm.
coming
Yeah.
from Dan, and
Yeah.
of course, you could bring in people too that are not on it.
Sure.
to help.
And I just, not being an expert at all on this, I wouldn't be surprised if we come up with different recommendations for well 4 versus well 3. Because, well 3, with the West Branch, there is really serious issue for high water, and well 4, that is a small, certainly a much smaller stream, and, the level of estuaries to threaten the well is far, quite different from along the West Branch, so we may come up with different plans for those two.
Perfect, whatever
So
we bring to the board will be helpful.
without
Make our decision.
bringing the board into it, your first step would have been to call the hydrologist. Is that, because
Yes,
we would want to sort of follow some of the
Yeah.
protocols that you have followed in the past for these problems to.
At this point, we probably would have just gone back to the White Mountain National Forest biologist.
Okay, I have his info.
They,
Okay, good.
they were the ones who helped us arrive at the way we handled it.
Okay.
And what sort of evidence was there that it was indeed, the beaver activity that had done in well 3?
The feces in the West Branch that were right within probably 100 feet of the wellhead itself. They had blocked a portion of the West Branch, and they were living there. And, it basically, the entire riverbed was covered. And we had Giardia in the well. So. That was our conclusion back. And again, I think this was 2005 or 6. When we removed the beavers at that time and took the dam out of the West Branch. The Giardia dissipated from the well. So.
And is the Giardia, do we think the Giardia is going down the pipe?
And the,
Or just
no,
filtering
it's
through all of that
through,
layer?
it is through into the actual. active. I mean, that was the only variable from our perspective that we could see that changed.
Okay.
So.
Well, it will be a project.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So the work will proceed. Yep. Okay. Thank you very much for that. All right, an update from Rick on the Snowsburg mitigation project. Two things. The survey. Mark, were you satisfied with the information from the minutes that Charles forwarded you? Or did you need another vote?
No, I think if you, I mean, it is the Conservation Commission's funds. So it
Okay.
is, you have not voted
Okay.
yet to expend money
All right,
from your account.
All right,
you
so
should have-
let's do that now. So the contract. Okay, the fee for the contract for surveying the 1.8 acres is $3,800. We apparently have 5,400 in our fund balance, whatever. We need to take a vote. We all need to take a vote that we approve of spending this money for the survey by Horizons Engineering. So do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the amount of $3,800 for the
Towards
purposes
survey.
of surveying
Okay,
the Green Belt Portion.
any
I'll second.
second? All in
No,
favor?
no, no, you have to discuss.
Okay, we'll discuss first.
Without discussing.
All right. Because we discussed it and you thought we all approved it, so. But if you want to discuss further,
I am obliged.
please do.
I am obliged to bring up, I had a discussion in the last week or so with someone who was really surprised that we were going to spend that much money for this survey. And said, why are you folks doing this?
Mhm.
Who are you afraid of? Are you afraid the Forest Service will take your land? No, I said, we're not. Are you afraid that the house that's next door to you is going to somehow encroach?
Mhm.
And that actually, in the past, that was my concern. I'm not so sure that that's such an issue. And so I think it might be appropriate, we do have the money, and I admit that all along I've been thinking, yeah, let's spend it, let's get, let's put up a chain link fence. I'm just being facetious, but
Mhm.
let's mark it clearly. I think we should consider, why do we want to spend this money to get it surveyed? To what end? We've got the road on one side, we've got the Forest Service on the other, and on a kind of a dog leg marked by wooden stakes, improperly labeled,
Mhm,
are 1, 2, 3 corners.
mhm.
And I don't know if there are actually any permanent markers in there or not.
Rich.
Yeah, we looked at that.
Rich said.
Go ahead.
There's two permanent lines
Yeah,
there. They're painted very bright orange. That go
one near the culvert.
one here, as soon as you saw, just before you cross over the culvert on the right, you'll see one.
Yeah.
And then if you follow the marked trees in orange, before you make that dog leg, you'll see the other one.
Yeah.
So that, the conservation land is on the other side
Yeah,
towards the road. So those are clearly marked. And then from the dog leg, I don't know if there's one that goes up. The next one would presumably be at the corner of the Forest Service and town land and that property, but I've not been back there to see. But you can see that there are two metal stakes. I mean, they don't do the concrete monuments anymore,
Mhm.
right? They
Metal.
do the
Mhm.
metal stakes. Those are quote unquote permanent. I think.
Yeah.
They're considered permanent.
so before we rush into approving this,
Mhm.
it might be good to ask why do we think we need it? I'm no longer clear.
Mhm.
Well, we would be clear if we get it,
Yeah, so
if we get it surveyed, then there's no question.
But question about,
so we brought this up with Rick. I don't know if you remember about a year ago.
Yep.
He told us to hold off just a bit because perhaps the Forest Service would do their own survey. When I asked him a month ago, what do you think? Should we go ahead with the survey? He said yes. Now, I follow him, but I also thought, based on my suspicions of our neighbors, I would go ahead with the survey. I would rather be clear.
There's one neighbor. And that's the mansion.
I don't want to point fingers, but yes,
There's one mansion and no other.
Yes.
property borders on this. except
Okay.
the Forest Service.
then there's the point, we,
Place, don't they?
That's across the road.
Yeah.
Across the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
there were times we walked through and saw the markers were moved. So I was not happy about that. So I'd rather be sure, but if you'd rather not do it,
Would it make a difference if our signs were put in that area? That we're talking
Yeah.
about establishing?
yes? Someone?
Hi, John Racine. So one question is, the Conservation Commission's been around for quite a while. Right, Charles?
You know better than I, yes.
I wanna know, how much money have you spent? From the kitty?
Not quite sure.
I think zero.
We've spent money,
Well, you spent $10,000 on acquiring.
yeah,
Yeah, but that wasn't,
wasn't
a
from,
lot of that money was donated.
Well, no, but it was
Part.
Conservation Commission
yeah,
that was spent.
It wasn't, there was $4,000 that was donated by a citizen.
No, I get it, but it was donated to the Conservation Commission fund,
mhm,
Yeah,
and that fund was
Bought it, yeah.
used
yeah.
to purchase the land.
Okay.
So,
Well, my point is that that's probably the only time I know of that you guys have spent
Well,
money.
we've paid Rick Vanderpool for the
that was
NRI.
that was a line
Separate.
item, that was an approved
Mhm.
warrant article
Mhm,
for a project.
okay,
You've also had similar projects with the wetlands study
mhm,
that the Conservation Commission
mhm.
supervised. The conduct of, I can't think offhand if there are any other specific Conservation Commission work other than the wetlands study.
And then there's the membership fees, that's minor,
Yeah.
but other than that,
So- I guess my point is that if you have the money, are you gonna save it for planting trees or something?
Yes.
That was nice.
Rich,
Allow the public. to
yes, Rich,
Participate in your discussion. I would just, again, when you consider your vote, consider that you have currently 5,400.
Yep.
And so you'd be spending 38 of that 54, so that will leave you with 1,600 for the rest of the. For the rest of the year until next year's budget. Something else to consider.
And along those lines, since we are talking about how to spend this money. Can we also? Is there any possibility that you would know,
yes,
is there any possibility that the Conservation Commission might become involved in some way with David Britton's 13.5 acres in the near future? Because that could involve spending of money on our part if it does.
okay.
I don't know, and it's just rumors, and so I think we need to address that before we spend 2/3 of our budget right now.
And
This,
so for
this-
just budgetary clarity, you'd have, if you went through with this purchase, you'd have the 1,600 in that conservation budget line. And then in your normal operating, I call it budget line, you have $2,000
Okay,
available.
Mark,
The other, Eric, you said something about seeing markers moved. You've got a warrant or an agenda item today to finalize your markers.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could put those markers out where you think the property line is. If those are moved or if those are challenged, you could get the survey at that time.
Makes sense.
Because if you put them up on the dog leg especially, right, where the cross-country trail goes around that corner.
mhm,
you're gonna know pretty quickly either from the resort or from the neighbor
Mhm.
if they have a problem
Okay.
with the bound. I'm just throwing that out as, as an issue.
I'm more confident since Rich said he said there are two, because we had only been able to find the one.
Metal stakes.
Yeah.
Two is you can draw a line and it's a pretty
Right,
clear,
that's what I'm saying is put your marker
Mhm.
on that line.
yeah,
Okay,
And if somebody says something to you, then you could get that surveyor to confirm those markers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just as an idea.
Perhaps we could table this. I don't know.
well. We have a limited,
Yeah, you would want to get back to Horizons and say, not right now.
yeah.
Thank you for your quote. You know, you're gonna be around 4,000
Mhm.
or so dollars to do the work.
Okay.
When you want to schedule it.
All right.
The only issue you're gonna have is you just need to get back on their calendar at some point.
Yeah.
And it may take a while.
Yeah.
Because they are busy. but-
We waited a year.
Well, since
But-
I introduced this whole problem, I honestly don't have strong feelings about it one way or another. Part of me would be happy to have it clearly marked off and known. And so I also am sympathetic with the perspective that we've got the money, we shouldn't be reluctant to spend it. And so I don't mind if we do that. But I am a little less clear than I was a few months ago about what purpose it serves. So that's why I felt like bringing my ambiguity to this issue
Okay,
to the commission for its thoughts.
So are we in favor of tabling it for now?
I mean, there's a
So we
motion on the
can-
floor to vote on it.
A motion on the floor, 1 second, yes.
I have one more question, probably for Mark. Do we know if the mansion land has been surveyed?
Well, there was a deed that was transferred, so yes, it's been surveyed.
And he should have pins on his lot as well.
Absolutely.
So do you think the commission should eyeball that and
Maybe eyeball it
take a
again.
look at it and like
Yeah.
table it?
So when you and I walked the property, we saw a new marker, but that was for the new owner,
Yeah,
not the mansion, it was someone
Whatever's
else,
for the new owner is for
It's
you
for-
too, because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
the abutter.
a
The
butter.
two pins
So-
that I saw are between
Okay.
you and that
All right.
private owner. The third one I
Yeah.
could not see, the one that would go after dog. I
Okay,
wasn't looking for them.
all
I
right,
just happened to notice.
so
so
Um,
do we amend the motion to,
Yeah. we'll have to amend the motion.
to hold off on expending the money until we do another site visit and
Yes.
see the pins that are now in place?
Another,
I would just defeat the motion.
Just
or
defeat the
Yeah.
motion, okay.
Or
Yeah.
just agree to table it. and then
Yeah.
we'll be done.
yeah, and we'll,
So I
bring the
move
dis-
to
yeah.
table the motion?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll revisit that after our site visits. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so that was the survey and the letters. Oh, so this is another question for Steve and Mark. Rick hasn't heard anything from the Forest Service. And he is always telling us to nudge them. So I think another letter was written to Brooke Brown.
Steve sent an email to Brooke.
Did you hear back from her
and,
yet?
yeah, she
Oh.
said that she had sent a letter to Rick in February.
Right,
And Rick had not responded to her questions in that letter.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the ball, as
Is
far
in-
as I read that.
Yeah.
Ball's in Rick's court
right,
to get back to Brooke with her questions from February.
That's
Right.
what I understood too.
Yeah.
from reading.
yes, and he wasn't clear about that, so I said exactly what you said.
Okay,
So there, she's waiting for him
okay.
for further details, okay. We'll continue to follow up on that. We can't lose the momentum because so many things are waiting. All right, so David Noyes answered us about the runoff issues. Did you have a chance to read?
I did, yeah. He's on top of it and the contractors at Golden Heights.
Still owe him.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the Olson home, so the property, the mansion changed hands? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Because of the last name of the people that own.
So we're not just
Yeah, we
calling it
probably
the
should.
mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
know it's being owned by the Younts, Yount.
T,
That's the
okay.
They
person we,
sold, as far as I know,
they
Oh,
sold to the
really?
Olsons. Okay,
Yeah.
because Dave Noyes is referring to it as the Olson home on
Okay.
East Way, which is the
Oh.
big house. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have yet to do anything to rejuvenate anything on their property, but Dave Noyes is on top of it. And Green Peak has done a great job. You probably have all noticed it. Their fencing and they've
Yeah.
got erosion control blankets
Yes.
in place. It's
It
great.
looks good.
So,
yeah.
and Dave was suspended the Olson property in Golden Heights from getting any further permits until they.
Oh, he didn't mention that.
He didn't say that. Okay.
fix their
Very good.
Right.
issues.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank you for
they're-
that. Okay, thank you, Dave. All right, let's get back to our 5 signs. Let's look at what we have. And then we have a few more questions, so. This is Waterville Valley Conservation Commission with the land acknowledgement or stewardship statement straight.
Okay.
You can see that?
Yep.
You can see that.
Exhibit A.
Okay, number 1. Number 2 is the Waterville Valley Conservation Commission without any writing.
Okay.
Oh, there's 2 of them. Why? Smaller print, maybe. Yeah. The font is different on these 2.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
The
Oh,
font
yeah,
is
the
different.
logo
yeah.
and everything is bigger.
Six, yeah, I like, yeah.
Okay. And so this is smaller font. The stewardship statement is illegible on this one, totally.
Oh, yeah. it's
Circular.
very tiny. Yep.
This is preferable, I think.
Yeah, I would eliminate
Eliminate.
that one right off
Yes,
the bat. but-
absolutely, yeah. Okay, this one. Oh, well, we're not voting. We're not voting yet.
You're gonna go through the whole thing.
Oh,
Wait,
you
but
have another
wait.
set of
I know
copies.
what Charles is gonna say.
Yeah.
Why is that?
How's that?
What, Becca? We've discussed
After
it
being
ad
married, how many?
nauseam.
Yeah, yeah,
He doesn't have, well,
yeah.
I know he doesn't like attaching the statement to the Waterville Valley Conservation Commission,
Mm-hmm.
the whole commission.
Okay.
So that's all, and
Okay.
we've talked about it enough times that
Yeah.
I'm so
Yes,
confused.
yes,
I
okay,
don't,
okay.
you know, so.
Yes, and I'd like to bring up another comment from a resident who said, why do you need the whole Waterville Valley Conservation Commission? You're in Waterville Valley. Everyone knows you're in Waterville Valley. Why not just put
They're just
the logo?
conservation.
What's the logo
Yeah.
called? Mark, what's the logo called?
WV.
The WV. There's a name for it. A bug?
Above.
I think
No, that's the resort.
That's the
That's
reason.
Oh.
the reason.
no bug, no bug. All right, so
Well,
that's,
we could do that. And one of the things I think that Charles and I did talk about was to have a nice sign that would just describe the property.
yeah. Okay.
It's maybe 1 sentence.
Mhm.
Have that somewhere at like an entry point where you might start walking.
Mhm.
Just to give a little bit about the
Okay.
property and then have the statement on that sign.
Oh,
Without including it on the
Oh.
logo.
so the statement would go on to
Would be
the
a s-
description.
Right,
Okay,
right.
all right. I thought he wanted the statement separate on a separate sign. So now this,
Well, yes, but it would
Okay.
be this, it wouldn't be 3 signs.
right.
Right, one sign that would be a description
Okay.
and
All right. So the options
Statement.
are. The options are. This one with the statement here this one without the statement here, which would mean another sign with the description that you would work on with a statement underneath.
Yeah.
So I think that's the two.
But I have no problem with that one, so
You have no problem with,
don't put me on the same.
no, 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 no.
Just because we live
no.
together, we don't have to be on
No,
that.
that's fine. So am I saying this correctly? So this is an option that we had before. This is an option without anything at all. Or what did I say was the other one? Or do we include Waterville Valley or just write Conservation Commission? That would be even simpler, fewer words.
Yeah,
I mean-
but I think it's kind of nice to have the water.
The whole thing.
I do
on
too,
it.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the name.
We
of-
don't want to
Simple.
be a generic conservation commission,
Yeah,
do we? I don't know.
Like,
Okay, I know Paul, you
Sharon
like this
always
one.
tells me to
No,
include
you
the
remember?
town
I
minutes
actually
and
like
stuff,
the-
what, because I've left it
I
off.
kind of like
Yeah.
You like plain.
the plain.
You like plain
For the,
too?
to market.
I like
To
the
market.
plain.
You like the plain?
Yeah.
It's to market.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
less busy.
Yeah,
Well, we can vote without Charles.
and I also thought about a smaller, I
Yeah.
know we talked, we didn't like the great big example that Steve had given us. But I was thinking even, fairly small and then on different, so that.
That
it's-
was something I brought up, like visiting Squam Lakes, all their trails and
Right.
everything. They have the little markers on the trees and then they have a bigger sign
At the beginning.
at the
of
beginning, which would have the
trails.
description
Right.
and the
Okay.
statement,
So you're talking about
So,
just the size of it
Just
now,
one
but
big one and one small one? Or,
2 or 3 small ones.
Two or
maybe.
three.
Two or three small ones.
I would say, because that's, a decent.
You're gonna attach them on, in the pathway.
Property.
On the edge, on
pathway.
the edge of
On
the
the edge of
property.
the property, Yeah. Yeah.
How many? Between three.
did you say 3?
I would say no
Yeah.
more than 3, but that's just me.
But if it's small, again, we talked about the one that's visible from the road for pedestrians. If it's small, it won't look like anything. It'll look like a piece of paper.
Right, yeah, no, these are just for people who are actually down on the,
Yeah,
down on the trail.
All right.
And something
all right.
bigger at the entry point.
So we're looking at unofficially, Charles, unofficially. This is the one that we're looking at. We haven't voted yet. But most people seem to be in agreement with this.
Okay,
And then you and Becca will work on a description of the property.
well, I had one worked up and
Oh.
I feel like it's sitting on my desk.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
it never got into the folder, which I didn't remember to bring. But I apologize for that, but I can tell you roughly, it's pretty non-committal, but I
Okay.
can tell you roughly what it is. And if the commission, rest of the commission thinks it's worth pursuing, I think I can safely send the precise wording in an email to confirm what I'm going to rough out right now. Basically, it was about 2 or 3 sentences. And I hadn't decided if it should go somehow connected to at least one of these signs, but I really am not clear. And the idea was to say that, and again, I made this weeks ago and my memory's a little rough, but the idea was, this is a 1.8 acre lot that was purchased by the Conservation Commission, Waterville Valley Conservation Commission in, I have the date, 2020, whatever. it was.
22?
I looked it up to make sure I had the date right.
22.
And was subsequently rezoned as Greenbelt,
Yes.
and I have the date for that too.
Mm.
And that this land serves in part as an overflow for flooding from Snows River to reduce the amount of sediment
Mm.
that rushes into Corcoran's Pond.
Sounds
And
good.
did I say that wrong?
You said river, it's brook.
That's all right.
Snows Brook
We
to
understand.
reduce the amount of sediment that flows into the pond and further enrich the environment of
Okay.
this greenbelt area.
Okay,
So my point was, state that it's Conservation Commission land. It's purchased, it's rezoned as Conservation Commission, and it serves a dual function of catching sediment from flooding of Snow's Brook and enriching the local environment. So that was the idea. It was pretty compact. I'm sorry, I can't bring you the
Yeah.
exact wording.
All
It
right.
was about 3 sentences.
And if we understand this correctly, you want to attach the statement to that sign
Well,
instead of this sign?
The reason I brought it up was because there was some discussion about. We've got this sign, but we didn't say anything about Greenbelt,
Correct.
remember? And I
right.
thought, well, we can't just say Greenbelt because. Many people are not clear on what a
Right.
Greenbelt is or
Correct,
why that would be significant.
Mhm.
And so instead of saying Greenbelt, I was gonna say. What this lot is, how we
Does.
have it and what it's for.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm not sure where
Yeah.
that should go, but
I
I
like
thought
that.
it would be good to include somewhere on.
Right. Yeah, we did bring that up, the question of where do we put Greenbelt information on?
Right.
So you'd want that on a separate sign. We can't vote on that because we can't see it.
You don't have the
anything.
flipping sign.
Right.
because I
That's all right.
forgot. Sorry.
Too much to do in one day. So you can send us the wording.
Okay, and if people like it, we could put that on. On one of our signs. We don't want a lot of signs. I think we've all agreed on that. We don't want a lot of signs. And were you saying?
Well,
three
we were
signs,
just
Martina?
discussing having the plain, that.
This one,
Have maybe 3 scattered, on the
Yeah.
property.
Little
Then
ones.
a
Little
larger
ones.
sign, maybe closer to where you might have the trail
Okay,
that would describe it, the property and the greenbelt status and
and the
the stewardship.
statement underneath.
statement underneath that.
Will you agree to that?
yeah,
Okay,
I think it's.
all right. So
Entirely. appropriate.
should we make a motion to approve this first sign,
And,
this font?
Mhm.
and what size would be?
So-
That size, smaller, what?
I think
Well,
people are talking about smaller signs, but I
Oh,
still want a bigger one
Yeah.
on the roadside, one
Okay,
from the road, so we can view it from the road.
That size is, I would say approximately 7.5 round. The size that I brought in, the actual sign was 18.
18, yeah,
And
Okay.
we had discussed 12.
well. I
Okay.
thought, Yeah,
So if we have 2 small ones and 1 bigger one. 7, this is 7,
7.5, yeah.
so,
Okay.
Let's, and where would the smaller ones go?
at both ends. Did you say at both ends of the trail that you worked on?
The smaller ones.
Well, I
I
think-
think they should go along the edge of the property.
Edge.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, where the questions are, and if
Yeah.
somebody decides that.
Right,
I think we can probably get one of them should be out on that corner.
right,
yeah.
We should have,
yes,
we should have a sign there.
okay,
marking that.
okay.
And then one down at the other. How far apart are the stakes?
I would think if we're gonna do the little ones, which I love the idea of, that we could do 3, one down by the Waterville Place condominiums, that end of things, one on the corner. And one midway down toward where Pond Loop goes back to town.
Yeah,
Town
yeah.
Green, sort of 3 small ones, and then the bigger one would be at an entry point, so wherever people would enter the path
Yeah,
or near the road or something. Yeah,
Oh,
Mm.
as long as it's on.
okay.
That would be. I
You
don't
want a
know what
bigger
everyone
one at
thinks
the-
about that.
You want a bigger one at the,
Well,
close to the underpass?
The big one that would have the description and.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And this stewardship
So
statement,
three-
All right.
Three small ones plus a bigger one.
yeah,
I
And
would
by
make the bigger
small-
one rectangular,
yeah, I would
and I
too,
would put that as part of the rectangular.
yes,
Okay, yeah.
like the town of
Yeah.
Waterville Valley
Right.
type of things, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree.
Right at the very top.
Yes.
Why don't we get the language, I'll get some more two more mock-ups. Are you planning on having a June meeting?
yes.
Yeah.
We'd
We'll
like
gather
to, if you're in town.
We will.
Yep. June 21, you won't be in? Oh,
Not the 21st.
You
okay,
Come back fly back the 22nd, which is Thursday.
Oh,
Do it the 28th.
I can't. The 28th. We looking at July?
Well, could we break from precedent and not do it on a Wednesday, do it?
Hmm,
Are you out of town that whole week?
The next week.
25 to 29, we are busy with family, yes.
Okay.
we're talking June.
June, yeah.
It's the door.
The door
Oh.
does that. I've heard that before. the
Weird.
wind.
June.
The 21st, you're not around.
No. Where are we?
How about the 14th?
Eric?
They're gone the whole month.
You're gone the whole month.
We leave
Oh,
next
sorry.
Wednesday and
Oh,
don't
good for
come
you.
back until the 22nd of.
Well, that takes care of that.
Yeah. Mm.
Good for you.
Don't forget
That's-
to let me know when you're done.
Yeah. Yes,
Should
I
be
have
posted.
instructions. Yeah, I will give you.
Oh, that's right.
He's gonna be the emergency contact.
Really?
And you're gone the following week, or you're tied up with.
We're
family
tied
stuff.
up, yeah.
Well, that takes care of June.
Okay, wow.
Well, all we would be
No.
looking at is Charles's language
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
sign and
Yeah.
modeling that other sign.
Right,
And
so
We
you
can
could do that
through
before we go.
email, Can't we, or?
Can you do it by email?
If you have a general agreement
Mm-hmm,
that you're gonna have 3 signs, probably about 4-inch diameter. Badges that get put on the trees in 3 different locations. And then you have a rectangular sign that's probably 1 foot by
Yeah.
2 feet or something like that. That has Charles's language with the icon at the top
yeah,
and the statement at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we can put that together, send you a picture of the mock-up.
yeah,
And if you say, yes, this is what we're thinking, then we'll have it made.
Yeah.
okay,
You will have internet, Rob, not you.
I will,
Okay.
and, yeah. I mean, I'm agreeable to that, and.
yeah, if we can,
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
if we can do that by email,
we mark up the mock-ups and then.
But I mean, I'm also confident if we have the basic plan agreed, and the commission wants to meet on the 21st without us, with that alternate stepping in.
yes,
Yeah,
That they
that's-
will make a good decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
That's fine.
So,
So let's do that.
You want to do it the 21st?
Can we?
yeah,
Fine with me.
All right.
and we'll just read a set of excellent minutes afterwards, so we know what happened.
So prior to the 21st, we'll get you.
Yeah,
Good.
okay,
Not to complicate things,
Uh-oh.
but one small suggestion. To add context to that logo. How do we feel about property managed by at the top and at the bottom, Waterville Valley Conservation Commission?
It makes more sense, actually. In terms of the sign, as to what we
Is
the sign.
isn't that implied? If we have the Conservation Commission, isn't that understood that we are the caretakers?
I kind of think so, but
Hmm,
I don't know.
I can get 2 mock-ups.
good, okay,
And include that.
good, more to think about.
Steve.
Okay.
Yeah,
Along
and
with
that might be
rectangular
good on the main side.
Yeah.
yeah,
And if it's
property.
flooded or if you think.
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
roll with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
Well, and my goal would be that that logo becomes your logo.
Right,
So instead of the town of Waterville Valley symbol
Mhm.
on your letterhead when you send the
Right.
letter out.
this.
We got that.
yeah. I made some for.
Yeah, we have it,
For those. For you. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I
we
think-
have them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
nice.
wonderful.
All right,
Give them up.
so do we need to make a motion for a vote for something?
No, I think you've got a sense of the meeting agreement.
Yeah, I have my marching orders.
You have your marching orders? Okay, so we don't need a vote? All right,
You
next
will
meeting.
on the 21st.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all right, Mark, do you have any updates on the transfer station?
Transfer station, we're
WWTF.
still awaiting the environmental review from DES.
Okay,
There were, we will be cutting trees, between Tecumseh Road and the transfer station, between now and June 1st. Because June 1st to July 31st, we cannot cut any trees in White Mountain National.
okay,
So,
all right.
And why is that?
it's,
Yeah.
bats are
Oh,
having a good time.
that's right.
Having
That's,
babies.
we don't put that in a lake property. Do anything
So,
to affect them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. Still waiting.
Still waiting.
All right.
And transfers the treatment plant where we're finishing, still continuing to work on the 90% design review with DES. We have a partial approval. And just still working on the tertiary treatment.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then another old business item is a follow-up from town council. So I think we asked town council if the Conservation Commission is able to accept a potential donation, because we're not a 301 or a 501c.
Well, yeah, but you're part of the town of Waterville Valley, which is a tax exempt block, which is a tax exempt organization. So people get the same
Okay,
credit for making donations.
All right. so if we have a potential owner of a buyer of the 13 acres
Mhm.
and they wish to donate it to the Conservation Commission, it is possible.
Yes,
Okay,
they can also donate to the town as well.
Hmm.
Same thing.
okay. All right, I'm looking at the time, so I don't want to spend too much time on this next subject. The Sierra Club's 12 Ways to Halt Climate Change. I think you all have the handout from that,
Mhm.
so let's table further discussion on that. So Kim Rawson told you about her school project, her class project, clearing all that, yes, all the education. So,
Can we get, are we gonna get more? I'd like to know more about what it is.
oh, you're going to get so much information.
think
You're
there
going
was
to
a new-
regret that you
Yeah.
asked me, because today's email from the Forest Service included 166 pages.
Oh.
Yeah,
From
and
the forest.
from the Forest Service. So they're all very excited that we are interested in pursuing this. They are aware of all the potential wildfires. So I only got it today, so you didn't get a copy. I will send it to you. I also spoke to Dave Noyes yesterday or the other day, I forget. So he mentioned the CWPP, which I knew nothing about. Mark, you know what the CWPP is?
No, Dan,
I think it's,
Tell me what it stands for.
I totally forgot. So that is. Okay, John Doyle is the person. John Doyle and Chris O'Brien are the people that I've been connecting with. Of course, I can't find it now.
Oh, those are the two that, chimed in on the letters that you sent the,
Yes.
yeah.
And why can't I find
It's a
it now?
community wildfire
it.
protection plan.
Right.
That's what it stands for.
So we have to read through the programs to see what's relevant to us. It's going to take a lot of, oh, actually, I copied the email. The email alone was 2 pages. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just highlights. After reading the attached email chain and broad points of interest related to wildfire prevention from IRID and the Waterville Valley Conservation Commission, I believe there are several options which may be of interest or further exploration. This prevention program is based on 3 E's: engineering, education, and enforcement. It involves a significant investment of time and resources to be successful, and there is no magic wand approach. First, I recommend reviewing the town hazard mitigation community wildfire Protection Plan. That's the CWPP. So this is the first I'm hearing about it. I don't know if you heard about the CWPP.
This is from Kim or from the Forest?
No.
This is from the Forest Service. He recommends that we review this. And John Neely assisted Waterville Valley with developing. And the update was completed in 2021. He's attached it for our review, and that's what the email will be.
Okay.
So you'll have
Okay.
2 attachments at the very end of the email. He recommends that we read it. So the CWPP has an assessment of the wildfire risk for the community and recommended mitigation measures prioritized, which is almost like the NRI. At the end of the NRI was 36 pages. He recommended
Yeah.
things for us to review. So this is a great document to use as the basis for any initiatives that we may wish to consider. So important to review the documents on an annual basis, see about changes. So that's just one paragraph of this whole thing. That's just an email. So in many cases throughout the country, it's difficult to convince the majority of landowners within the community that there is a concern. So this is another thing you'll be up against. What concern? What wildfires? There's water all around us. What's the problem? And that they should implement Firewise recommendations. So there's a Firewise USA that is also an attachment, so you'll see that in the email. So the primary goal of any such initiative is to reduce the number of preventable wildfires and the risk to life, property, and our valuable natural resources. 87% of all wildfires are
Handmade.
human caused, exactly. They're not
That's
just
when
lightning.
Smoky Bear comes. in.
So, yes, Smoky Bear is
you.
part of the,
And the
is
back
part of the
forest fire.
education. Exactly. So this is just a brief presentation. Take your time reading that document. I just got it, so I have not seen it, but just wanted you to be aware. And I'll speak to Chief Noyes again to see if he has any priorities on his list from this CWPP. Okay, so that's,
What we'll do is we will forward you the hazard mitigation plan from the town.
Okay.
the hazard
So you
mitigation
guys
plan.
get-
Okay.
You see not only wildfires, but every hazard.
It's regularly reviewed.
It's
Okay.
a regular reviewed document
Okay,
and updated, so you should have everything. You shouldn't be looking at this in a vacuum.
great.
Okay.
And
Okay.
one other question we had for Chief Noyes was, do we have an evacuation plan? Yes?
Yes.
Well, I'm
Good.
sure.
That's the
It
hazard.
is part of
That's
the
the
hazard.
mitigation.
Okay.
mitigation Plan. that
Yeah.
the select
But
board
then
reviews.
after you guys review it, then you can ask us questions.
Okay.
Perfect,
And we can come in and do a presentation.
perfect.
That's what you're.
Okay. Thank you for that, and then we'll have our homework cut out for us.
So
Do I have
you'll
a few,
forward always, all of
all of
this?
you,
Okay,
all of you,
Thank
and
you.
Rich, of course, if you are interested, I can send it to you.
Sure.
Because I know you have a lack of reading
Nothing to
material.
do, nothing to
No,
do.
it's all right. Okay. Something-
It's not in Russian, it's in English.
That's okay. I'll translate.
You can translate if you wish.
Okay,
I wish. Not anymore.
all right, so,
Uh,
do I have a few more minutes, or are you
Yeah,
itching to go?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, on the new business, testing for PFAS, I think I asked Dylan about it, but I sent him an article on some kind of newish filtration system that attacks these forever chemicals. So I have,
They're not a controlled chemical at this
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
We're waiting for DES regulations.
okay,
But
all right,
the majority of our
right,
system for the
Mhm.
water is ductile iron, so
Mm.
we don't have a whole lot of PVC pipe
hmm,
within the water system.
okay,
We discussed this at the select, board.
We-
we're waiting
Yeah.
for the.
We're
okay,
waiting for the
Standards,
standards to
right?
come from the
Mhm.
state.
okay. Thank you for that. Yes, the last item, I believe, is replacing the footbridge, and I did speak to Candia Conservation Commission. And as you said, they didn't have to deal with the DES. So if we are going to pursue a footbridge behind Snowy Owl, who do we approach?
It's the town's land.
Okay.
So
But,
you would come to the select.
oh, okay, I come to the select board because I've had these photos of these footbridges. Every time we go to another town, we go, this footbridge would look great in Waterville Valley. We need to get that footbridge back up because people are asking us, when are we gonna get it? When are we gonna get it?
This comes up every so, this is Rich, for the people who can't see me.
Mhm.
I think this comes up every so often in select board meetings, and it was looked at right after Irene, as I recall, which took down the,
Mhm.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
But I understand it's prohibitively expensive to build one there.
The
That's-
complicating factor for us is that that is in the flood zone of the dam. And so
Hmm.
we play by different rules
Mhm.
than other localities might.
Mhm,
We'd certainly look at anything
mhm,
that anyone wants to do, but our requirements for Snows Brook downstream of the dam,
mhm.
between the
Oh, yeah.
dam and Snows Brook
Oh, yeah,
Road underpass
right,
are different than
okay.
a normal stream that's in the open, right?
Where,
Because it's a flood zone.
where are those requirements spelled out?
In our flood, in the flood regulations and in our dam permit.
So if we approached the select board with this idea, what would you tell us to do? Who do we ask for directions, instructions, procedures?
Well, you would say, we want to build this bridge,
Mhm.
and we would secure an engineering firm to tell us, well, I'm sorry, we just can't just build it.
Mhm.
I mean, we'd have to, I mean,
We would
About
have to
going
go
to
to
town meeting.
DES.
Yeah.
And we would have to get their permission to do it. Because it is a flood zone
Right.
for the dam.
So it has to be strong enough to,
It either
if
has
the
to
dam
be
goes.
high enough.
right.
Or it has to be strong enough
Mhm.
to not be washed out if the dam fails.
Correct, okay.
For us.
Yeah, I think it's-
I mean, the line of short, I think will be,
And that's why we haven't put the dam back. I mean, the bridge. back.
Yeah, the dam bridge.
The dam
The
bridge.
dam bridge. That's what you meant to say?
but it will require, a warrant, I think. a
Yeah,
warrant
there'd be a warrant
For an
article.
engineering.
Yes.
engineering money,
Right,
and then another warrant article potentially the following year, if you don't do it the same year,
right,
for the actual cost based on the engineering.
Yeah. I mean,
okay,
I really wish we could just go back in there and put what was there
yeah.
back.
It was washed away.
That was-
And that's what they don't want,
Oh,
even though it's
yeah,
really a nothing.
Well, it
I-
has the potential to impact mostly the Snowsbrook condos
right.
on the left-hand side
Hmm.
of the. road.
Yeah, it's just a request I hear all the time. so-
Yeah. And
So-
really, it isn't that the bridge is all that bad, it is if it washes away and blocks the culvert. Under Snowsbrook Road,
Mhm.
then
Trouble.
those condos on the left-hand side could be flooded.
It would have to be.
And that's why. you have
High enough, right.
but that-
Different.
It can be done.
It can be, you're doing it on the Mad River, right?
There we go.
Nice Bridge across Mad
I
River,
know if that would.
but those are the requirements that we had to meet.
Right.
I think that would-
That's high.
That was 400,000.
Around 300 or 400.
Yeah, this is a
And you're
smaller,
going
smaller, so,
Be nice to have a breakaway.
Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah, something that purposely broke but stayed there.
Yeah.
we could have a rope bridge that would survive.
That would.
Rope across.
Hey, we have a civil engineer in our midst.
Oh, Paul, please.
Tarzan rope.
Yeah, they were,
I suggested a zip line,
yeah,
and the rec department could get in
They're
on
not-
yes.
charging.
yes, let's,
For the wedding party, trying to get across.
Oh,
Oh,
goodness. That
let's
would be like a
continue.
new TikTok
no,
challenge.
yeah, no Tarzan bridges,
Yeah.
Okay.
but definitely, let's continue this.
Okay.
Is there any other question, discussion? Are we okay with June 21st as the next meeting date?
I think it's great.
You're off the hook,
Yeah.
or we're off the hook.
You're off.
You're off the hook, yeah.
Rich has a question.
This is a reminder on our request, this select was request for beavers. We'd like to have something back from the full
The commission.
commission
Yeah.
at our 6th July meeting.
Yes, we got that.
We could make it the 20th. All right,
They're gonna need.
I think so. I thought about that, but
I was gonna ask you how proactive are the beavers right now?
Yeah,
They're very active,
Are
on
they?
the well 4, well 3, we're just watching it, but there's activity for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
so let's make it the 20th of July. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
you got
20th, okay.
a couple months to see what you can come up with. That's not the default solution.
Okay. We'll do the research and come up with something. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much,
Good meeting.
everybody.
Have a great trip, you two.
Yes.